Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, MCPS Roundtable as the new school year commences. Governor Hogan supports building another Chesapeake Bay crossing. Review group concludes that Montgomery County was named after a slave owner. Should the county change its name? Montgomery County's sanctuary policies come under national scrutiny as police bring rape charges against 7 undocumented aliens. Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by education activist Cynthia Rubenstein, Technology Chairman of the Montgomery County Republican Central Committee, Dwight Patel, former congressional candidate Liz Matory, and political strategist Susan Heltemes. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. Welcome back to a new season of 21 This Week. And as Montgomery County schools open this week, there's hope and aspirations for the coming term. Nonetheless, there are concerning issues that linger from the past year and reports that cast a shadow on the quality of education being offered. Susan, MCPS Superintendent Jack Smith, announced that his goal was to expand opportunities for students and eliminate disparities in student achievement. Yet these are the same problems for years: graduation rates, dropout rates, and student achievement. Does Smith have a magic wand this year?
Well, I think to put this all in context, the school system has changed. At the moment, the population of the school system is 28% white, 21% black, 14% Asian, and the rest is Latino, Hispanic. So I think that makes the system far different than it was even 20 years ago. So that is the first problem that he has. There's very different needs. And the other thing he did start something this year, which I think is a really good idea. 2 schools started 30 days earlier. Arcola Middle School and the Roscoe Nix Elementary School are going to be going to school 210 days a year as opposed to 180 days. And there's schools in need. And I heard him interviewed recently, and he said, we're going to be looking at this closely, and we may expand the school year elsewhere. So I think that's a good thing. But any superintendent of this school system has a big, big, big problem because our needs are so unique these days.
Well, Cynthia, you know, a report was issued this week that showed that Montgomery County, only 53% of the students were proficient in English, and less than 50% are passing key math exams. So is Montgomery County school system overrated? Can it handle the challenges that Susan just elicited? Or what is the problem?
The problem and the challenge is that kids are coming into school from families not ready for kindergarten. And that's why Montgomery County is putting a big emphasis on 0 to 5 primary education. But as Susan said, the demographics of the school system, the school population have changed. We have a higher number of families in need, and we have a higher number of students who are learning English.
Does that hurt the smarter children, the children that are more advanced? Does that give them the proper education?
That kids who are coming from college-educated families and middle-income families are doing just fine.
But when you think about balancing those scores, that's where we get to where we are. And we're
in the
doing
context,
statewide.
and
we're doing
statewide,
well.
Montgomery County
Slightly
is doing
better
well.
than we're doing in the state.
Montgomery
We're only
County
doing
is doing
slightly
well.
better.
I know.
Now, why are we celebrating mediocrity?
But
That's
nobody
what you're saying.
has
We're
used
celebrating
the word
mediocrity
celebration.
by saying
Nobody
50%
has used the word
and 53%.
celebration.
Nobody said
Jack
it.
Smith acknowledges a small incremental improvement in the English scores and that math is flat, and says we have a lot to do.
I want to go to Dwight because he's the technology guru. Dwight, if our students in the Montgomery County school system aren't learning math, aren't learning science, how are they going to compete in the world ahead?
They're not. And the problem with Montgomery County schools, there was a time when I was going to product of Montgomery County Public Schools, our worst school was the envy of the state. The worst school when I was in high school was Albert Einstein High School. It was that any other county would love to have an Albert Einstein. Now, the worst school in Montgomery County might only be the envy of Baltimore City. We have some of the worst schools in the state. Our education has gone to hell in a handbasket. My former quantums teacher, Mr. Bundy, tells me the math science magnet program at Montgomery Blair High School is a pale imitation of what it once was. They got rid of the critical thinking portion. It used to be a larger portion. Now they just shrunk that down because, you can't have critical thinking as a large portion of the entrance exam to the magnet programs now.
But if all of the resources are being thrown at the children in need, how are we going to advance the school system?
But they aren't.
We're spending.
They aren't.
We still have
we
magnet
still have
schools.
magnet programs.
The best school in
academic
the state
and
is Poolsville
elective.
High School.
Yes, but here's
That's something.
No, it's a science
It ain't in
and
Rich Potomac.
No.
It's in Poolsville. I got to go to Liz. Liz,
I don't know
it's
if
well known that the school board that oversees Montgomery County school system is a captive of the Apple ballot and the teachers union.
Yeah.
It's being proposed that they be given a raise. Should their raise be attached to student performance, and they only get a raise if that performance improves?
They shouldn't get a raise at all. I mean, honestly,
I agree.
I'm surprised that they're even paid to begin with because it all starts at the top. Like, they are all responsible for the degradation of our school systems. And quite frankly, a lot of us who are college educated, et cetera, are homeschooling our children because we will refuse to get our children into a failing system. And it's really sad to see that Montgomery County is considered a failing system. How did that happen?
Nobody's
it was on the
calling it
backs.
a failing
They
system.
should be.
They should.
Anyone who doesn't call it that is not being honest for
So
the
what are
for the
you
children.
suggesting? We have an incredibly large school population. We have 164,000 students
went
in
up
our
to over
system.
a
Right,
thousand
and
this
you
year.
have one of the largest budgets in the state. You have some of the most highly educated population. At
And
the end
we
of the day,
have an immigrant
you are-
population that outdoes all the other to get combined almost. So what do you do about
So-
that? You have students who have a
So
hard
you-
time. They have
so-
jobs.
you
they don't
homeschool-
speak
you
English.
homeschool your children. That is a solution.
Oh, that is
No,
a
here's
comment.
What about charter schools? Why don't we have charter schools
Exactly.
that allow for competition, that would allow people to put their children in schools of their choice
But what they're
rather than
finding
the
out
MC?
in D.C. is that they're not doing so
No,
well.
actually they are. They're actually doing much. They're outperforming schools in Baltimore and certain schools
I'm
in Montgomery
talking about
County.
DC.
Yeah, DC charter schools are
No, that
outperforming.
isn't what I'm hearing because some have been closed down because they're failing so
Yes, but then
miserably.
there's schools in the
Look,
worst wards.
before we wrap this segment up, we only have a couple of minutes, and the real issue is Jack Smith. Jack Smith is superintendent. His contract expires at the end of the next term. Now, Susan, I want to ask you, there was a terrible situation that occurred last Halloween with the Damascus rape case. How did Jack Smith handle that case?
Well, I want to report that on Wednesday, the last kid of the four went to court and was sentenced, and
as a juvenile.
they were all juveniles.
But the question is not how did the police handle it. The question is how did the school handle
I
it?
will tell you that Jack Smith failed in the way that he defended and coddled the principal. That was wrong, and once they got over that, he had a hard road because the court system, the police took over.
Cynthia, you're going to have the last word on this. Should he be reappointed?
I think he should be reappointed. I think that we can't judge him on the few years he spent in Montgomery County. Steering a school system is like steering an aircraft carrier, and it takes time. And I think he is moving the system in the right direction.
Well, you've got, as I said, you're going to have the last word on it. So we'll wait and see. We'll keep checking his performance. Now, last spring, there was a great deal of noise after County Council President Nancy Navarro suggested that Colonel E. Brooke Lee Middle School be renamed because Colonel Lee was reportedly a segregationist. That charge prompted the appointment of a review group which reported that 6 Montgomery County schools are named after individuals who were considered slave owners. But the real shocker in that report was that Richard Montgomery, yes, the same Richard Montgomery, the Revolutionary War hero who died in the Battle of Quebec, the same person whom Richard Montgomery High School is named after, and the same person whom Montgomery County is named after, had married into a slave-owning family. Now, Liz, Richard Montgomery never set foot in Montgomery County. He was an immigrant from Ireland, and he died as a Revolutionary War hero. Should the high school be renamed? And by extension, should the county change its name?
Absolutely not. If anything, we should just acknowledge the fact that certain people refuse to accept the fact that history does not start at slavery. Our history, if only people could consider that individuals are in their right to be full citizens. It's as if they're treating us as if we are, just got out of slavery. Everybody is trying to get us to focus on this history. Nobody cares what Montgomery County is called. Nobody cares what Blair High School is called. Let's talk about fundamental issues where that school system, that you are literally proliferating that narrative that whites are supreme to blacks and Latinos. That's the problem. And everybody is, deflecting the big issue, talking about names. It has nothing to do with it. Just like
Susan,
the statues.
do you agree?
Well, it's interesting. E. Brooke Lee's family admitted he was what he was, and they said they didn't have any problem if that school changed its name because he wasn't, he was everything they said and more. I think it's up to the school system and the communities, and if the community has an issue and they want to change it, I think it should be up to them.
It's not just the school system, it's the county. Should the county change its name?
Well, I don't think that's really necessary, but schools are critical to the identity of a community. And if you have problems with it, let the community do
So
it.
Brooke Lee, who was a Democrat segregationist.
E. Brooke Lee.
E. Brooke Lee,
Democrat.
Democrat segregationist, should have his name removed from the school.
The family said they could appreciate that.
Well, and his actions took place in the 1960s and in the 1970s, not in 1792 or 1786 or 1800.
When he should have known
When
better.
he should have known better.
Montgomery County is one of the last counties to be desegregated. So let's all be honest. Our history is not as beautiful as everybody claims it is. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with the renaming of schools. I'm an alumni from Blair High School. I'm also a GW alumni. Both alumni communities are up in arms. They want to rename GW. They want to rename Montgomery Blair. That is one thing I was kind of shocked because, there are a lot of progressives that graduated with me at Blair High School. They're all up in arms about renaming Blair High School. I think if they rename the county, I think the county should be recalled Chaos County because that kind of fits us well.
Well, my own preferred name to change the name of the county is taken from the Pogo comic strip from years ago, the Okefenokee Swamp. I think that's the name we should adopt for the new Montgomery County. When we come back from this short break, Montgomery County's sanctuary policies come under national scrutiny as police bring rape charges against 7 undocumented aliens. And Governor Hogan supports building another Chesapeake Bay crossing. Do you? Stay tuned. And welcome back. Last Friday, at the start of the Labor Day weekend, WJLA reporter Kevin Lewis reported that there's been at least 7 undocumented aliens arrested in Montgomery County for rape since late in July. Susan, does Montgomery County have a crime problem which has been exacerbated by county executives Mark Elrich's sanctuary county policy?
Well, first of all, to talk about that policy, Mark was remiss in that it is my understanding he did not communicate with the acting police chief, the sheriff, or the state's attorney in creating his plan. And that was where it went wrong. He uses words like serious, and it's very convoluted. To put it all in context, last year, 92 people in Montgomery County were detained by ICE. This year, a lot of it is the hyperbolic rhetoric that is going on, and Ken Cuccinelli is keeping lighting a fire to make Montgomery.
Susan, Mark Elrich changed the policy. He came out and announced a change of policy.
Yes, and I wanted to get back to that.
So what happened last year in cooperation with ICE is not the policy that was enunciated by the current county executive.
Well, what he has said in the last 24 hours or so, what he didn't want was ICE on, at the detention center, picking up these people. And what they said was, if you wait and pick them up outside a trial or something, they said you never know what kind of melee there will be. So he has backed up on that. And again, his policy was built on fallacy because he didn't talk to the people who knew. And it's going to come around, but it is a poor policy, and he is getting keyed.
The biggest weakness here in denying ICE access to the detention center is the fact that you can't have controlled handovers.
That's what I said. You can't.
No, but you talk about a melee,
That's what I'm-
trying to arrest somebody in the streets. We've had instances where people have been let out the back door because the judge didn't want ICE picking them up and then releasing them into the community. That's a real
Well, that's
problem.
what they're working on, and that's where Mark went wrong on this. He just didn't do what he should have done.
So I want to go to Dwight on this. Dwight,
Yeah.
we have a new police chief, at least a police chief in name, after a long, arduous process. And the fact is that these new reports about the rape arrests wouldn't have come to light if the police and the prosecutors weren't leaking to the press about their dissatisfaction with what's going on. Is the new police chief going to be able to stem this crisis?
I hope he can. I honestly hope he can.
Or she.
Or she. I honestly feel that the problem is, this is Mark Elrick's problem. Mark Elrick endorses sanctuary policies. Mark Elrick thumbs his nose at law enforcement. He doesn't want to cooperate with 287G, which we had been doing prior. Mark Elrick is basically, he doubled down on WML interview a few weeks ago, where he basically says, we're not going to turn over people to ICE. Why can't you do it in the prisons?
Look,
You can
the county council and the county executive have to recognize it's been their policies that they've established. It's not the federal government that is at fault here. It's the county council that's established.
I want to add.
You gotta
Let me say something about the named designee so far. He has been vetted and is known by at least a couple of the county council members, one of whom knew him 30 years ago.
You know what? He never applied for the job. And secondly, he had a $400,000 buyout when he retired. He is not qualified for the job.
How does that
He
All right,
worked
wait,
in the
wait,
police
wait.
department.
He can't do it.
He's a retired
Guys,
police officer from Montgomery County.
I'm sorry. We got to go to the next topic. I'm sorry. We'll be talking about this again. Come back next week, Cynthia. I need two Democratic panelists
Susan and I
next
want to
week.
tangle again.
All right. But it's not a secret that many Montgomery County residents flock to the Maryland and Delaware beaches on the eastern shore during the summer months for vacation trips. Crossing the existing Bay Bridge can be frustrating as volume of traffic overwhelms the capacity of the two existing spans. Liz, while much of the discussion whether to build an additional crossing centers around vacation traffic, isn't the real argument in support of a bridge crossing as a future economic growth for Maryland as an alternate north-south route around I-95?
Well, not only I-95, but it's a bottleneck in Route 50. There's more, unfortunately, I know Montgomery County doesn't want to admit it, there's more counties than Montgomery and Prince George's. All the traffic from Hartford, Baltimore, the northern parts of Chesapeake Bay have been bottlenecked all the way, everybody's pulled down to 50. So even if you make the third span, what are you doing with all the traffic, again, being posted? I have no idea why he said that was the only choice that they had. Who made that decision? I really want to know more about it.
I think
other
what the
people
governor
were-
was saying, because I read through the report. What the governor was saying was this was the only route that could be accomplished quickly because of the environmental offsets that would be necessary and the cost for further study. So I think that's the reason he pointed to the Bay crossing close to the existing spans. But I think there are bigger issues there. Right. Susan, talking about this, the opponents focus on the environmental impact and cost, but we're talking about a 40-year plan and what the demand will be like in 40 years when you're trying to drive your cars across the Bay Bridge. Shouldn't we be forward-looking and build something?
And hopefully we'll be taking public transit then. The thing is that the governor wants that third bridge. The bottom line is the way things happen when it comes to building major roads. The decision is not going to be made by Larry Hogan. It'll be sometime in the future. But you talk about getting to the bridge. You have three spans. If it were to go there, where the hell are they going to go then?
Exactly.
Because
You got to
you're
widen
on
50
those.
also. They have to widen 50.
Oh, but beyond,
they can
it's
both
going to be a
sides.
total
We need to build
nightmare.
more roads. Is that what
Yes.
you're saying?
And-
I didn't say
So
that.
I've never heard you advocate
build
I
building
said public
more,
transit.
building more
Joe,
roads
Joe,
with
Joe.
Susan. Once I agree with
It takes
you.
Republican
Build
governors
more
to build
roads.
in Maryland. Governor McKeldin, Governor Agnew, Governor Ehrlich, Governor Hogan. They're the roads governors who built roads, who makes Maryland move.
This one isn't going to get built under Hogan.
Well,
It'll never get done that fast.
well, I mean, I
So
know-
the next governor who will be Democratic
How do you
will
know?
make the decision.
Maybe not.
As Cynthia's being very wise and not entering into the fray, here.
Yeah.
But I am so glad Susan and I are on the same page. for
No, we're
once
not.
again.
We never
Stay
have been,
tuned
never
for
will
parting
be.
shots when we come back from this short break. And welcome back. Now with her first parting shot for the new season, Cynthia Rubenstein.
Okay, it's all about schools and about the people who cover the news of the schools. I want to do a shout out to two people who write eloquently and reflectively about the school system. One of them is Caitlin Peets, a relatively new reporter for Bethesda Beat. She is a primo reporter on education issues. She is my go-to source on the schools. And another person is Sunil Dasgupta, who's a parent activist and has been writing a series lately for Source of the Spring about the boundary study. He has really done his homework on this, and he has some very interesting things to say about the history and what we're grappling with right now.
Thank you, Cynthia. Dwight Patel, your parting shot, please.
My parting shot goes out to the president and the handling of the crisis with Hurricane Doreen. He did I think a great job mobilizing forces down in Florida and then the Carolinas. Good job, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dwight. Liz Matory, your parting shot.
So one local and one international. I want to give a shout out to Sheriff Chuck Jenkins coming from Frederick County right above. He's one of the only two sheriffs that are actually working with ICE to address the issues, the pervasive issues with the detention of illegal entrants and criminals. Secondly, Ivanka Trump, another former Democrat turned Republican. She's doing a lot of great work internationally with women and business and entrepreneurship. So I just wanted to give her a shout out at this time.
Thank you. Susan Heltemes, your parting shot.
This was the summer of mass shootings, and I can't let that go by without saying, I never thought I would say this, but I want to commend Walmart for their actions in terms of gun sales and ammunition sales. And they are the biggest retailer in the United States. And Walmart has also said that they do not want people to wear their guns into the stores, which was quickly joined by Kroger, Wegmans, Walgreens, and CVS. And when this happens and retailers begin to take action, maybe something will actually get done. And what's interesting is Walmart is already communicating with the president and with Congress and the Senate, and maybe he can get done with his wallet what nobody else has been able to get done. We need changes.
Thank you, Susan. You know, as we approach this new season, I want to talk about what's going to happen in the next 12 months. We're entering into the election season for the presidential primaries and the presidential election in November of 2020. Well, we've heard from many of the Democrats. They've had some debates, they've had some television exposure, but the fact of the matter is the issue is going to be whether or not Donald Trump should be reelected. It's axiomatic that the person in office is the person that people vote for or against. So we're going to see an exciting year as over the next 15 months going up to Election Day, and we are going to enjoy here on this show as a political talk show looking at every single microscopic fact that we can talk about throughout the next year. And I will tell you, it won't be boring. We're going to have a lot of fun, and I'm sure my good friends on this panel will enjoy sparring with one another as we go forward. So I want to thank the panel for being here. It's been a hard summer of 4 weeks of vacation. You know me, I'm French, so I take August off. So welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. I want to thank the audience for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.